Andy Austin here, up in the attic again. It's absolutely roasting, so I've got half a dozen fans on here, so hopefully the noise doesn't come through. Can NLP and hypnotherapy cure allergies? I say no. But I'd say that a lot of people think they can, and as a result, people are better able to ignore their allergy symptoms. Plus also, a lot of the allergies that people get treated by these various approaches, whether it's tapping or any of the other alphabet therapies, they're seasonal, so they come and go. And sometimes people can have hay fever 1 year and never have it again. I had that 1 year. I was working in a medical center in a very large manufacturing environment. And that particular year, I've never had hay fever in my life before or since. But one particular summer, it was pretty rough. And we had loads of workmen come over looking for some kind of relief from their symptoms too, because they were quite badly affected. Most of them also said they had never had an allergy before. Now, were we then to engage any of those people, including myself, in some kind of therapeutic procedure to convince their unconscious mind that they are no longer allergic, they may well have made the attribution that when they're no longer allergic because they don't have any symptoms, then the process worked. But maybe it was just a one-off allergy. Now, it's quite popular, this notion that the allergy is like a phobia of the nervous system. I'm sorry, partly that's my fault. I wrote a chapter in this book where I actually say that. It's a bit awkward to me now. I didn't know then what I do know now. The story that I give in The Rainbow Machine, available in all good bookshops, and on Amazon. If you buy it, do please leave a review. Very appreciated. Click the like button as well while you're at it. I worked in accident and emergency. This is a lot of years ago now. And one particular summer, we had a blue light delivery via ambulance of a man who was extremely unwell. He had been bitten by a venomous snake. We call them adders. Some people would call them vipers. It's the only venomous snake we have native to the UK. He was a workman on a particular area. They were fairly remote where they were working. This thing had bitten him. He had then gone down with an acute allergic reaction to that. The workmates had got him out to an environment where they could then get an ambulance to him. He was then brought into us in a severe anaphylactic state. He was not going to survive. That was very clear without extreme medical intervention. The paramedics had already begun with the intervention, and then he came into us for sort of second level life support, where we then transferred him up to the unit. He did survive. Now that became the story for one simple principle. The story in The Rainbow Machine, available in all good bookshops and on Amazon. Leave a review. I was one of the team who received him when he came in from the back of the ambulance into the resusc room, and something was very, very obvious to us. He had jeans and then camouflaged army trousers over the top, and he had knee-high Doc Marten boots on. Allegedly, he'd been bitten on the leg, but how would, these snakes are pretty small, how would a snake have bitten him? It hadn't. And in fact, we were not able to find any evidence of a snake bite whatsoever. And clearly, yet he was in a very severe anaphylactic reaction to whatever had happened. So I turned that into a story, which was basically he believed he had been bitten by a snake, and he was able to manufacture an anaphylactic reaction as a result of that. Yeah, it's a bit awkward now, because obviously that's complete nonsense. It is absolute nonsense, and I could only apologise for the wording and the beliefs that I had at the time that I wrote that particular chapter. Clearly, there was no snake, and there was no snake bite. Because I can picture now, knowing what I know now, what actually happened. He probably had something in his system that he was having an acute allergic reaction to. It's a boiling hot day. They're out in a fairly remote area, lots of countryside around, probably adder territory. He's seen to collapse and go down. Someone said, he's been bitten by a snake or something. That then gets relayed and becomes the motif in the story. That's what gets written by the ambulance crew on the notes. It gets transmitted around, but there was no snake. He never got bit. It was just probably a flash reaction and assumption on behalf of the workmates, given the circumstances in which his collapse happened. It may have been something he ate. It may have been a medication he'd taken earlier in the day. There was another factor that caused the allergic reaction. There was no snake, there was no snake bite. He wasn't dying of a suggestion. So, can we actually recondition the immune response? This is a very popular notion amongst hypnotherapists. I first came across this before I'd come across NLP through a couple of people I knew who were hypnotherapists, and they believed that they could cure allergies. And the technique they used was a visualization process, which was essentially, imagine you're in a glass booth and we filter the air, and now you're in a completely pure environment, and the stimulus of which you're allergic to is outside of the glass booth, and now your unconscious mind can generate that precise imagery whenever you're exposed to the noxious stimulus that you have the reaction to. Yeah, wishful thinking. That's all that is. It's fanciful, wishful thinking. I've seen people, I've seen this in a lot of the personal development scene. The person's life, they've really bought into the whole personal development thing. They've started alienating themselves from friends and family because they're too negative. They're now onto the platinum level training. They're really going for this whole, I can be anything I want to be, as they're slowly going bankrupt, and their life falls apart. And they're working for free more and more as an assistant, still handing over large sums of money. And now they're divorced and they've given up the day job, and they're slipping further and further into debt because they completely believe they're going to make a fortune one day as they find total freedom. And you can see how stressed they are and how anxious they are and how much their life is deteriorating. And yet when you talk to them, they massively overcompensate with this exuberance, this total disconnect where they tell you that they're great, they're always great, and everything is fantastic, and they have this total positivity whilst they continue to deteriorate. And I've seen over the years, I first got into this whole thing in 1994, and since then I have seen so many of those instances of people basically, where are they now? Most of them have finally gone back to the day job. Most of them did have a marriage breakdown. Sometimes they alienated their children and so forth. I think it's the same principle that can happen with physiological symptoms that coaches and therapists believe that they can fix. Some people will engage in a denial that the symptom is actually as bad as it was before. Well, I think it's a bit better. Yeah, it seems to be getting better. It's not. And so can alphabet therapies cure an allergy? I say no. Do please comment in the comment section if you agree or disagree, if you have any studies or research papers that you can quote. It might be problematic if you put the link. YouTube doesn't like people posting links in the comment section. It kind of automatically deletes the thing you write. So just remove the HTTP www beforehand, and people can copy and paste that link then into the browser. Do leave any comments and any other opinions. If you have a personal success story curing an allergy, now it has to be a provable cure. Not I had hay fever 1 year and now I don't have it. It has to be something that we can test by re-exposing you to the stimulus. Let's see. I say it's not possible.